Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a space, and a face of love. A spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and utilizing universal principles to empower our lives and the lives of others. So glad to be here on this Memorial Day weekend, and so nice to see so many faces. And we have a guest today, if you will, that is really in line with the talk for today of aligning with your true self. We have a little one who's definitely aligned with their true self, right? They are not worrying about anything. They don't care what you think, what you say. It's like life is real and good right now, right? They're not shying away. And so it's so great as we move to the end of our monthly theme, from good to great. From good to great. And we want to look at this idea of aligning with our true self. And by definition, when we say align with our true self, that automatically says that there's a false self or not so true self somewhere. Now, the question is, are we aware of it? And then if we become aware of it, or when we become aware of it, what do we do to realign? What do we do to step into this greatness, if you will? Now, when we look at the word alignment, one of the definitions is in a straight line, but we know that in nature, that in the universe, there's nothing that's straight. There is no straight lines in the universe. Man created straight lines, trying to get to the, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, except if there's a rock there or a river here or a mountain there, then that ain't no more straight line, right? And so we understand from that understanding that the idea of alignment is putting things in their proper relationship, in their proper perspective to one another. Now, we understand that in the beginning, God created heaven and earth, and we went through 7 days, as they say. And at the end, God said, all is well, meaning the relationships were already set up. The connections were already set up. Even the things that we sometimes look at as not so good, God said they were good, because they had a place, they had a relationship. And as long as they stayed in their true relationship, they were fine. They were fine. And so when we look at what it means to be aligned to our true self, the thing that we need to do or understand is that it is a process. It's not something, now you may have an epiphany to awaken you to the idea of your true self, but to align with your true self takes a little time. It takes a little time, and there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. It's the process. It's the methodology, right? It's like when the sun sets this evening, there's a process for it to come back up in the morning. Nothing wrong with the sun, nothing wrong with you. It's the process that we have to understand and get into and allow that true alignment to happen. Right now it's planting time, right? Spring is just about to end. And so if you haven't put your stuff in the ground, people are scurrying now to do that. There's a process. I can wait until September to plant my plants. Very little might bear fruit if I wait that long, because there's a process. And so when we understand that there's a process within us that allows us to align with that divine essence within us, that is a sacred calling, that is a sacred bell tone. There was that thing that says, for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for you. Every one of us has a bell that is being tolled for us to align, to get in sync, to harmonize. Harmonize what? Harmonize with who? Everything, anything, because it's all one thing. Because we know that God is the power of one. There's nothing else. And so when we do this, we move into a place of calm. We move away from this idea of fear of being exactly who we are. Now, this month we've talked about self-discovery and identifying our values and how do we actualize and become authentic. Well, this is how you do it. You align. After you've had this self-discovery, you've gone in and you've defined some values and you looked at what it means to actualize that potential within you. Now you must align. Now you must align. Now, Jeremiah said this, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope." So God is telling us right there that everything that we need is in there, and that God has planned for us to be successful. Planned for us to be successful, not hoping. The hope is that you catch the point. That's what the hope is. The hope is that you wake up enough to align to yourself so that we begin to live an authentic life and move from good to great. From good to great. Now, sometimes this may seem like a challenge in a world that is full of distractions, or a world that's full of going-ons that we really don't want to embrace. However, when we truly align, when we truly match our desire with the desires of the divine, we understand how great we are. We can move from good to great because we are made in the image and likeness of God. In the image and likeness of God. And there's a uniqueness in each and every one of us. Now, Ernest Holmes says it this way. He says it really nice. "For I know the plan, we have within us a power that is greater than anything we shall ever contact in the outer. A power that can overcome every obstacle in our lives and set us safe, satisfied, and at peace, healed and prosperous in a new light, in a new life." That's what happens when we begin to align with our true selves. We open up to a vista on the other side of whatever it is that's holding us back. Whether it's fear, whether it's doubt, whether it's disappointment, whatever it is, God has provided us with the essence, with the know-how, with the wisdom to move beyond it. To move beyond it. Now, move beyond what, you might say? Well, I would submit we need to move beyond the ideas and concepts that we hold. Because when you say cookies, which is one of my faults, when you say cookie, I don't really have a cookie. I got an idea, I got a word, I got a concept of what you're talking about. But until I grab the cookie, it's just that. And it has no bearing on the real thing, right? There's a saying that says the vehicle you take to get to the event is not what you use to go into the event. I drove my car here this morning, but I didn't drive it through the front door to get it here. I had to get out of the car. I had to walk in the door and come in the building. It's the same thing when we begin to look at ourselves and try to figure out why or how do we align with our true self. We have all these concepts. We can do all this spiritual practicing. We can pray, we can meditate, we can journal, we can walk in nature. But at some point, we got to get beyond the ideas and the concepts and move into alignment with the essence and the spirit that is within each of us, and is uniquely displayed in each of us. Our true self in harmony with life. You know, we have this symbol called the Tao, or the yin and yang, which comes from the Tao. Now, there are many different meanings of that symbol, but I think the most prevailing one speaks to harmony. It speaks to, it shows this wheel that is in motion, and that motion, it is harmony. And that's what we have to do to get truly aligned. We have to harmonize our physical, our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual selves so that everything is pulling in the right direction. Imagine you're on a stagecoach and you got 4 horses and they all going in different directions. You're not going to get very far, or you're going to do a whole lot of toing and froing. And pretty soon you're going to get frustrated, and you may come up with the bright idea, well, I'm just going to walk. Well, now that's not a bright idea. I can get there faster if I align my horses to go in the right direction. So that means I need to take time to understand those horses, train them into being them true selves, and move in a direction in unity, in harmony. And that's what we are trying to do here. Because we are come here, as Thierry Desjardins has said. He said this: we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. There's a big difference. Because if I'm here thinking that I'm human, having a spiritual experience, then I'm going to get caught up in all the muck and the mire and all of the minutia that keeps me from aligning to who I really am. But if I look at myself as a spiritual being, now we open up a whole new world. We open up a world where all of these things that are happening, my 4 horses that may be going in different directions, that's just an event that's happening right now. I can get them in line. I can move in a way that allow myself to be in tune with the infinite, in tune with the infinite. And so once we begin to do that, we have to ask ourselves, well, how do I prepare myself? What are some tools that I can use to move me in that direction, to align with myself, to be true to myself? Because by being true to myself, I'm simultaneously being true to everybody else. Because remember, we are one. There's a relationship, right? We're aligned, and there is a relationship between thing 1 and thing 2. And so the first thing that we have to do is understand our divine nature. We are divine by nature. God said we were made in the image and likeness of the divine creator. Made in the image and likeness. That means our persona, our likeness, and our image. And look at the many different images we have. And how unfortunate it is that we don't recognize the differences that we see among ourselves as the expression and likeness of the divine and the image of the divine, and we choose to separate or pick at or pick a word that's not uplifting. When we do this, when we understand our divine nature, we move forward with ease and grace. Louise Hayes says this. Louise Hayes says, the power is within you. It always has been. How far are you willing to expand the horizon of your thinking and stir the power awake? How long? You know, there's a song that says, how long? Well, not long. I don't want to wait too long. That's how long. Because if I wait too long, the moment has passed. And it's not that I can't get back to it, but it may take, you ever drove a car and you miss your turn on the highway? Now you may have to go 2 miles to get off the exit, to make the U-turn, to come back around to get the turn. So it's never too late, but you may take some part of the journey that you don't want to take. And that's what means to be true alignment. You will know that, I got to slow down. I got to get in this lane. I got whatever it is when you are truly aligned, because there's harmony between you and the entire world. And so how much longer are we going to let the divine energy within us stay asleep? How much longer are we going to allow the goodness that is obvious in all of us to lay dormant? That's a serious question, because we all understand, we all know that there's greatness within each and every one of us. You know that there's something that you do that nobody else does as well, whether it's make somebody laugh, make a cake, drive a car, balance a checkbook, whatever it is, you have that. And God is depending on you. Humanity is dependent on you to do that. It's like this. It's like we should begin to look at ourselves as master painters. When we think of any master painter in any genre, when they sit down to paint, they have a specific idea. They have a palette of colors to display the thing that they want. And they are diligent about doing it. Now, we look at some of these painters, some of them painted in a day, some of them painted in a week. They'll start, they'll come back, they'll start. But they're diligent about uncovering and waking up to that divine nature that's in all of us. There's a precision in what we do when we are in line with our true selves. So let's begin to first think of ourselves in our truest form as being divine in nature. Meaning there's a spirit, there's a spark, there's an intelligence, there's a wisdom that's within each of us that'll move us wherever we need to go once we align. And then once we get in alignment, the next thing is, now this one will cause you to raise up in your chair a little bit. That is, you have to listen to that divine voice within. We said earlier, there's so many distractions. There's so many things to keep us from listening, from hearing that point. And we meditate, we journal, we hike, we do all these things. But oftentimes we do them with some preconceived notion. Not just for the glory of the thing itself. How many people go hiking just to go hiking? No, I'm gonna go hiking because I need to get to the top of the mountain. Well, that's good too. But imagine if you just had a casual day to go hiking, and if you get to the mountaintop, that's great. But if not, I'm going to enjoy the scenery, the animals, the wind, the rain, whatever happens in this moment, and listen to the divine voice that's all around us. That's all around us. The question is, are we listening? Wayne Dyer says this. Wayne Dyer says, there is a universal intelligence that we call God or soul or spirit or consciousness, and it is everywhere and in all things. So all places are sacred. All places are worthy to be praised. All things and places has something to tell us, to awaken us, to push us in a way that we align with who we are. Are we listening? Do we understand our true nature? Because when we do, we get a reciprocal yin and yang kind of program going on. I realize I'm divine. I hear more God. I hear more God. I realize I'm more divine. And so now we have this spiral from good to great. We move from being a mere human and move into be a powerful spiritual entity on this planet, filled with the power and presence of God. Now, here's a verse from Hebrews 2:1 that says this: we must pay the most careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard, so that we do not drift away. Pay attention so that you don't drift away, because it's easy. Just think about it. If you were to close your eyes right now, you could probably come up with 100 things that you need to do right now. Forget about going out the door when we're done. Right now, you can think about 100 things. I got to wash the dishes. I got to clean the car. I got to prepare for work. I got to do the paper. I got to do this, that. And at that point, we've forgotten our divine nature that says, all right, hold up. Let me align myself. Let me be in tune with the infinite and figure out what's important, what's not important in this moment. Still may be important, but is it important in this moment? When we begin to allow ourselves to tune into that kind of voice, then we're moving in the right direction. And then once we do that, once we understand our nature and we get ready and willing, because we're always able, it's the ready and willingness that we have a problem with. We have to embrace who we are. We have to embrace our path without fear, without judgment, without criticism, any of those things that will put a impediment in your flow, right? I'm sure everybody has, I shouldn't say sure everybody, but I'm gonna say sure everybody, because I'll say most have had the water hose with a crimp in it. And you turned the water on, you didn't know they had the crimp in the water hose, and you sitting there and like, why is no water coming out? It's just trickling. But when you realize there's a crimp, don't hold a hose to your face now, because you're going to get soaked. You got to uncrimp it and the water will flow. That's what happens when we embrace our uniqueness. When we embrace our path, it just flows. We don't have these blockages of fear or all these other things that keep us from stepping into our greatness. You know, Dr. King said the famous line, you know, if you're going to be a street sweeper, then be the best street sweeper that you can be. Meaning, you know, if everybody's an accountant, who's going to sweep the streets? Everybody can't be an accountant. Everybody can't be the CEO. Well, you could be the CEO of sweeping the streets. I take that back. But everyone has a place, and every place is valuable and needed. And when we can align with our true selves, we're not worried about the other stuff, because we know there's a flow of life that's going, you know, look at the birds of the field. I meant birds in the air. Look at the lilies of the field. They don't toil. They don't spite. They understand that there's a power, a presence of God that is going to take care of them. So they just spend their time, you know, being beautiful or flying around looking for worms. That is how we have to live. That is how we become truly aligned, by understanding our divine nature, by listening to the divine voice, and by allowing our unique presence to be heard, to be felt. Emerson says this: to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. That is the greatest accomplishment. To be yourself in spite of. In spite of. We have this song in the beginning, The Garden. And we just talked about putting things in the garden. It's a process. But now you can plant all your plants today They won't all produce fruit today. Cucumbers might come a little bit before the tomatoes. The peppers might not come until the end of the season. But neither one of those plants are concerned about the other plant, except the symbiotic relationship, because we know there are certain plants that keep certain pests away from eating the other plants. So again, we see this oneness in play, but each one of those plants is uniquely attuned to its true identity, to its true self. And it's going to take from the soil what it needs, not going to take from the tomatoes, not going to take from the cucumbers. I'm going to take what the pepper needs. Are we doing that in life? Are we looking and caught up in all the distractions of social this and political that and all this other stuff and forgetting who we are? I hope not. I hope not, because we need you on the scene now more than ever. More than ever. And so when we can step into that kind of understanding of what true alignment means, understanding our divine nature, listening to the divine call, and allowing our uniqueness to show through with confidence, then we can move. In closing, I'd like to say this. Aligning with our true self is a lifelong journey of discovering and embracing God's created self that's in each and every one of us. It involves understanding our divine identity, listening to God's voice, embracing our unique path, and overcoming any fear or doubt that says the other. Because when we step into that, we trust in God and wait. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind about who you are, about what you are, and more importantly, about whose you are. We are all children of the Most High God. And I think Ernest Holmes really capsulized this idea when he says, what the world needs is spiritual conviction, followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principles than to have them repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. It is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. And what we want to be about is practicing. We want to get away from those ideas and concepts, and we want to go into the practice. And so with that, let us embark on this journey of true self-alignment, true good to greatness, knowing who we are, doing the work to be discovered by ourselves, aligning with the values that we know are true to us, and allowing ourselves to actualize into the plant, if you will, that God has created us to be. Let us pray. Divine intelligence, that dual aspect of life, the mother, father, God of all things. Thank you for creating us with this purpose and intention. Help us to hear the voice that is ours to hear, to align our lives into a way that gives us courage and strength and understanding to move forward with ease and grace. Because I know that it is that power that has created worlds that is within each and every one of us. So let us attune to that. Let us harmonize to that. Because I know that each and every one of us are here with a divine set of skills, with a unique mission to create heaven on earth. And so I know right here, right now, that each and every one of us in this room, on this call now, and that may hear it later, are awakening to our divine nature. We are allowing God within to be expressed outside. in our actions, in our words, in our deeds, in the things that we do to keep us moving along this path of greatness. And so with that idea, with that understanding, we give thanks for this time, for this moment, for this idea to move into who we were created to be. Divine emanations of the Most High God, ready and willing to do what's necessary after we've done what's required. And so I give thanks, I release, I let go, and I know that this prayer is already activated in the mind of God and that it is already so. And so it is. Amen. And so it is. Amen. And so we want to thank you for being with us this morning. It is now that time of sacred giving to support our ideas, to uplift this community, to continue to do the work that we do. And before we get to that offering, I almost forgot. There's a call to action. There's a practice that we got to do. And so if you could back up and just put that call to action up there, we got two questions. One is to ask yourself, who am I when no one is looking? Who am I when no one is looking? And then we want to take some time, there should be an E on the end after that M, this week to reflect on your personal journey. What does aligning with your true self mean to you? What does that mean to you? And we're going to anchor that with this affirmation that says, I embrace my uniqueness and listen to my inner wisdom and guidance. I embrace my uniqueness and listen to my inner wisdom and guidance. And so it is.